Today, I am going to explain a very terrible Spanish-French horror movie. The name of this movie is The Grandmother, which has just been released. At the beginning of the movie, we see an old lady named Pilar. She was sitting in a restaurant. She was probably waiting for someone. Now, as soon as the clock strikes 8, her clock stops, and she walks out of the restaurant. She then goes to her friend's house, where her friend Julieta was lying on the ground, which was dead, and blood was coming out of her mouth. This sight was very scary, because Pilar was looking at the corpse of her friend Julieta. We are even more surprised when we see that Pilar did not react even after that. Then suddenly a young girl comes out of the room and she was completely nude. Pilar is very happy to see her body, and tries to feel it, which was very strange. In the next scene, we see a young girl named Susanna. Susanna is a model and her photo shoot is going on today. Then she gets a big deal from an agency, which could have changed her career and life. But on the same day, she gets a call from her mother's land hospital that her grandmother's health is very bad, and there is no one there to take care of her. When Susanna hears this, she is very sad and upset too, because on one side she had her grandmother and on the other, she had such a big project. But she had given more priority to the deteriorating health of her grandmother. And the same day she returns. Then we see Susanna has reached the hospital, and then she meets the doctor who is checking up on her grandmother. Susanna's grandmother was none other than Pilar, the starting old woman. Yes, seeing this start and seeing this thing, your heartbeat must have increased a bit, but its suspense will open in a while. That doctor tells her that her grandmother has suffered a brain hemorrhage. Because of this, her condition is very bad. She is just like a living corpse, so it is better for her to die, because there is no one else here to take care of her. Susanna tells the doctor that her parents had died in a car accident in their childhood, and since then it was her grandmother who had brought her up. And in such a situation, how can abandon her? Susanna tells the doctor about her modeling career. So the doctor advises Susanna about a house which is in a hospital, where such patients are taken care of who have had brain hemorrhages. But Susanna does not like her advice, and while denying it, she said that at last she herself will take care of her grandmother. And she gets a call from the same agency from where she had got a huge offer. The agency inquires about the condition of her grandmother, to which she says that her condition is very bad. She says that as soon as her grandmother gets well, she will come immediately. Then Susanna was serving food to her grandmother Pilar at the dining table, and she feeds her with her own hands. After being given one more meal, suddenly start having a seizure in Pilar, and she starts to suffer. Susanna somehow pacifies her, and then takes Pilar to her room and makes her sleep. Soon after, Susanna goes to her room, but after a while, she hears the voice of Pilar screaming. So Susanna immediately goes to Pilar's room, and there she sees that Pilar has potty on the bed itself, and she was shaking vigorously. Susanna does not get angry seeing all this. Rather, she immediately takes Pilar to the lavatory and gives her a good bath, changes diapers, and then sleep well. After which Susanna goes to her room, and today she was very tired. Because of this, her eyes are closed very quickly. Now late at night, someone was pulling Susanna's blanket and was trying to take off her clothes. It was none other than Pilar. If a finger was put in Susanna's mouth, then Susanna's eyes open right here. And thank God it was a dream. But this experience was quite horrifying for her. Susanna wakes up from sleep, and then after that, she goes to her grandmother's room. And after that, both were watching comedy shows on television. Susanna was feeding Pilar food, but Pilar was laughing and constantly looking at the TV. She was not even eating food, due to which Susanna turned off the TV. And yet Pilar was laughing constantly looking at the TV. Susanna finds this a bit strange, but she avoided this thing. After which she takes a shower in the bathroom. But then she hears the sound of the horn of the taxi. Hearing this, she comes out of the bathroom. When she comes out, she sees that a girl was talking to her grandmother Pilar. Seeing this, she feels a little strange because she did not know that girl. On seeing Susanna, that girl immediately hugs her. Susanna asks the girl who she is. The girl tells her name is Eva, and says that Susanna's grandmother and her grandmother used to be very good friends. Susanna asks her how did she come inside. So Eva tells that in fact, Susanna's grandmother Pilar has given her the keys to her house. She often comes to meet Pilar in 2 to 3 days. She made a lot of noise from outside, but Pilar did not give a voice from inside, so she came straight in. She thought maybe she is in trouble. After which Susanna asks Eva about the condition of her grandmother. So she tells her that her grandmother has died. In no time, Eva meets Pilar and leaves there. Susanna was deeply worried about the health of her grandmother Pilar. And on the other hand, she was getting constant messages from the agency as well. that if she does not come soon, then this offer will go out of her hands. And she was very much afraid that such a big offer she got might not be canceled. And Susanna had to work hard behind the health of her grandmother Pilar. One night, Susanna was sleeping in her room. That's when she hears the voice of someone talking and she wakes up from sleep. As soon as she goes out of her room, she sees that Pilar was talking standing in front of a mirror. Thus she felt as if someone was standing in front of Pilar. But in reality, there is only one mirror in front. After which the door started closing behind Susanna automatically. Just then, where her grandmother Pilar was standing, suddenly the light goes out and it becomes dark, so that Susanna does not see Pilar. After this, Susanna runs to her room and sees that she is sleeping soundly. And she starts thinking that even an old woman is mentally ill. How can she come running from the hall to the bedroom so quickly? She feels a bit strange and scared, but she considers it a nightmare of hers. But later when she wakes up, she starts hearing the screams of her grandmother. Her stomach was bloating very strangely, and she was screaming, but after a while everything becomes normal. Her grandmother was sleeping in a completely normal condition, but Susanna is unable to sleep all night now. The next morning, Susanna is looking at her room diary and gets emotional. She found many things inside the diary that she had mentioned in her childhood, such as her 6th birthday, a walk in the national park, and many more. Eva and her grandmother were mentioned in her diary, which meant that everything Eva was saying was true. That is, she really knew both of them. She felt good seeing this, but then Susanna saw something in her diary. Seeing this, her heart sank. She saw that on her and Eva's 6th birthday, Pilar and Julieta, that is, their grandmothers, had cut their hair. And something was also mixed in her drink. That is, the grandmother of Eva who came to the house was Julieta. Julieta and Pilar were good friends. Now because of all these things, she had many scary dreams till late at night. One more thing she remembers from her diary, that she and her grandmother's birthday is on the same date as 22nd of March. Susanna is now shocked to learn that the campaign she was working for, that campaign has also gone out of her hands. And for this reason, her career was also going towards downfall. She doesn't understand at all what to do. But now from here, the situation starts getting worse. Now Susanna used to have terrible nightmares at night. As she sees in her dream that she is very old, her wrinkles have gone out. Wrinkles were rising on her face again and again. Her teeth were falling out and her hair had turned white, just like her grandmother. But in the meantime, Susanna realizes something else. That one night she found her grandmother's blanket on herself. And when she went to her grandmother's room, so saw grandmother sleeping with her doll. After facing this incident, she started feeling like, somewhere in her dream, she sees daily as if someone is pulling her blanket. And the most shocking thing was that the person pulling the blanket was none other than her grandmother. And what was even more terrifying was that it was not a dream but a reality. Now, on the other hand, Susanna was worried about her career and hear the deteriorating condition of her grandmother. Susanna was badly trapped in all these things. She doesn't understand at all what she should do. But in the meantime, she meets a woman whose name is Adela. Susanna likes Adela very much, and she was perfect to take care of her grandmother. Anyway, after a lot of difficulties and searching, they found someone to serve them. Now with the help of this, she could leave her grandmother and go back to her work town. But after facing what happened next, even Susanna's soul was trembling. She saw her grandmother pointing something out of the window with her hands. And just then, Adela gets injured in a road accident. And according to the instructions of her grandmother, Adela's condition was deteriorating, and no one can even hear her screams. Because of this, no one could help her. After this accident, Susanna gets to know about two things. Firstly, her grandmother does black magic. And secondly, her grandmother does not want anyone other than Susanna to look after her in her old age. And she did not want to let Susanna get away from herself. Susanna was very much afraid of this, and now she was also afraid of her grandmother. She was so scared that she was afraid to even go near her grandmother. Meanwhile, she thinks of the same old home about which the doctor told her, where such mentally ill people were kept and taken care of. Susanna understands what she has to do, and she decides to shift her grandmother to the hospital in the same old age home. Susanna had put her grandmother in that old age home hospital the same day, and after that, she was going to be free from her pressure. Now she was about to catch a flight that evening to focus on her career. She is completely ready and preparing her meal. She goes to the kitchen, and as soon as she breaks the egg in the fry pan, so shockingly it is black in color and flames of fire come out of it. And seeing this, she gets very scared, which was a clear indication of black magic. Now, there is a news telecast on TV, inside which it is told that a hospital has caught fire, and whoever was present there, everything has been burnt to ashes. and it was none other than the same old age home, where today Susanna had kept her grandmother. Susanna gets very upset seeing this news and starts crying, because she feels that her grandmother was also dead in this accident. But then she notices that her grandmother was smiling sitting in the corner of the room just behind her. And seeing her, Susanna's senses fly away. Susanna had two options in her mind. One, she should run away from here, and the other is she should take care of her grandmother. And obviously, Susanna opts for the second option. She does not go back and starts feeding her grandmother again. And it seemed as if everything was back to normal. Perhaps if Susanna's grandmother had been replaced by someone else, Susanna would have left. But how could she leave her grandmother? But then suddenly Pilar starts coughing as soon as she eats food. She starts getting around and Susanna goes outside the room. And the terrible sounds of Pilar were coming inside the room. She was just waiting for these voices to stop. And finally, after some time the sound stopped coming. Susanna enters the room and she comes to know that her grandmother is no more in this world. And shockingly, today was not any other day but the 22nd of March. And on this day her grandmother died. And it is not a coincidence. Then she confirms her death, after she also informs the doctors about it. And the doctors say that it will take at least 3 to 4 hours for them to reach there. Here Susanna was alone and a lot of paranormal incidents start happening to her. Susanna sees insects emerging from the dead body of her grandmother. But how can this happen so quickly? Then the light of the whole house goes out and the dead body of Pilar gets lost somewhere in the dark. Susanna was very scared and was running here and there. She wanted to run out of the house, but an invisible spirit doesn't allow her to do so. Only then does she see the candle and she sees the flame of the candle completely different from that. Susanna gets scared and tries hard to extinguish the candle, but that candle does not extinguish. After which she picks up the candle and goes to throw it out. Then it turns out that it was not the flame of a candle. Susanna then goes inside the lavatory to escape, but then a dangerous spirit emerges from the mirror of the lavatory. And that spirit was not of anyone else but of her grandmother. And she processes Susanna's body in a terrible way. We see that Pilar is imprisoning her spirit in Susanna's body. And after that, we see that finally, Pilar's spirit had settled in Susanna's body forever. Meanwhile, Eva had come to see Susanna's body and she was praising her body. And friends, now here are the real cards of this movie open. In fact, both Pilar and Julita had done black magic on their grandchildren, that is Eva and Susanna, in their childhood. On her 6th birthday, as we remember that Susanna had read her diary. There, both of them had mixed something in the juice and given it a drink. Her haircut and scary dreams were all mixed up here. And it was all their conspiracy. Like a well-planned thing that her spirit will be imprisoned on her 25th birthday. Basically, the spirit that she is inside her old body. Now she had put her spirit inside their grandchildren's young bodies. And that was the starting scene of the movie where Pilar saw Julita dead. And after that, a nude girl came in front of her. Pilar was getting very happy seeing her body. So she was none other than Eva. And inside Eva was none other than the spirit of Julita. And that's why she was not scared at all after seeing her friend's dead body. Because she knew what happened here. And this is the reason why Pilar was smiling a lot seeing Eva in the beginning. Because she was embracing her young body. And the same thing Eva does over here now. So both of them had passed their grandchildren. And now she will roam around the world with this young body. And it was no coincidence that the birthday of Susanna and her grandmother was the 22nd of March. So if seen, both Pilar and Julita are born again on separate days. And it seems to me that now she will do this ritual again in the coming time. Because if they want a young body, or else it will not be limited to their house. Might be possible that in the coming time they will do the same thing to someone else. And by doing black magic, she will put her soul again in some other body. So basically it was the witches that were doing the witchcraft. And I also think that both of them must have got Susanna and Eva's parents killed. As if she had killed Adela. Because that accident scene gives absolutely reference to those things. And with this, the movie ends here. So, friends, this was the story of the Grandmother movie. Hope you liked this movie. If you liked the explanation, please subscribe and share with your friends. Thanks for watching.